Alright, good afternoon everyone. I have a warm-up activity for you today. I want you to do a crossword puzzle about some vocab that we talked about from the Continental Congress and from the Declaration of Independence that we talked about last week. So take some time. You can look up the answers using the dictionary or your book if that'll help. But take maybe 5 or 6 minutes to try to do as many as you can. So you can pause the slide now and work on that. When you return, it'll advance to the next slide, which will be kind of an answer key for these things, so you can check your work. Okay, pause now and work on this for maybe 5 or 6 minutes. Okay, here's the answer key for the crossword puzzle, and then we will move on now to the main lesson for today. So today we're going to be talking about notable people. Specifically, we're going to be discussing, and you guys are going to be doing a little bit of research today about the signers of the Declaration of Independence. So when we look at the Second Continental Congress and the number of delegates that came, they originally from only 12 of the 13 colonies sent delegates, and they arrived in May of 1775. Georgia did not initially send delegates because of the royal governor, but they appointed a provincial congress, which ended up sending delegates a few months later. And so what's important to understand about the delegates is that they were men of many different careers, backgrounds, education level. You have people from all walks of life who came to be part of this. And before they became part of the Continental Congress, the vast majority of them were not involved in politics. They were people who worked, in their communities and the different kinds of careers that they had, but they were known for the community for their strong beliefs and their stance and their ability to represent their communities in an honorable way. So that's why these people were chosen for the Continental Congress. So they came to the convention to represent the local interest of each colony. And it's important to remember, today in the United States, we are fairly similar. No matter what region you live in, the United States is fairly similar. There's still differences, but back then those differences were very easy to see. And so the interest of one colony was not necessarily the interest of the other colonies, depending upon how closely they were tied to Great Britain, what type of religion they practiced, what their culture was like, that kind of thing. So they approached their duties in the Continental Congress from different perspectives. So in spite of the fact that they all were people who had recognized and were willing to address the problems that the British brought to North America, some of them dissented. Some of them ended up not signing. Most of those who ended up not signing were from Pennsylvania. I want to highlight one for you in particular, a man by the name of John Dickinson. So John Dickinson was raised as a Quaker, and he had a lot of convictions that led him to not support the Declaration. So today your in-class assignment for today is going to be doing a short writing assignment. And so I've given a sample here, and I have a sample on the next page to kind of give you an idea of the sort of thing that I'm looking for when you do the writing portion of this. Okay, so this is about John Dickinson. He was strongly influenced by his Quaker upbringing and his wife Mary towards only supporting defensive war. He objected to the Declaration because it seemed to him as a provocation that would bring war and violence to America. He felt that America should try and make peace with King George III. At the time, he acknowledged that his stance against the Declaration would make him an outsider, but he was unwilling to change his beliefs. Dickinson was an ardent believer in using the law and nonviolent protest to get the British to understand the Americans' position. He was heavily involved at all stages of the move towards independence. He is known as the penman of the Revolution because he authored many of the important documents that made the case for the rights of the Americans and the injustices of the king. Among the notable documents he wrote were the Olive Branch Petition, the Declaration of Causes and Necessities of Taking Up Arms, and the first draft of the Articles of Confederation. In addition, he was one of the founders to free his slaves in 1777, and during the war he volunteered to serve the Pennsylvania and later the Delaware militia, but had to resign due to his poor health. After the war, he served as the president of Delaware and later Pennsylvania, where he advocated for the rights of the Quakers and other dissenters. So as you can see, John Dickinson makes a very strong example. He knew that his position was unpopular, but it was something that he was strong believer in, and so he was unwilling to compromise. He stuck with what he believed, and I think that's an important lesson. You can be an important person. You can be a person who loves their country and wants to do good things, but still not violate your personal beliefs and kind of your understanding of how you should act and what people should do. So I think he makes a good example for us of the kind of a good kind of character to have. All right, we're going to talk about some of the signers now. Okay, I wanted to highlight for you one signer in particular by the name of Benjamin Rush. So there were 56 delegates that signed the Declaration of Independence, and Rush was one of the Pennsylvania delegates and was one of the signers. So just a little information about Rush. Benjamin Rush was a native of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He graduated from the College of New Jersey, which is now Princeton, at age 15. He studied medicine from 1760 to 1766 in Philadelphia with Dr. John Redmond, and then studied 2 more years at the University of Edinburgh. Upon returning to Philadelphia, Rush began practicing medicine and became a professor of chemistry at the College of Pennsylvania. Rush was also a strong patriot who joined the Sons of Liberty in Philadelphia and was close with many of the influential founders during the Second Continental Congress. He was appointed as the Surgeon General of the Continental Army in 1777, but resigned the next year because of political infighting in the Army. He also attempted to get George Washington replaced, which he later regretted. After the war, Rush remained an important figure in Philadelphia, where he continued his medical practice. He also was an influential social figure advocating for the abolition of slavery, universal education, and medical treatment for the poor. Rush dedicated his life to serving the people of Philadelphia and his country. He died in 1813 treating patients during a typhus outbreak. John Adams said of Rush, "I know of no character, living or dead, who has done more real good in America." Alright, so that's just a little bit about Benjamin Rush. I think he's a very interesting character, and I think one probably most people don't know about. And he's one of the founders who's actually a little bit more famous. He has some significant contributions to the medical and the scientific world for his work there. But I think there are lots of people like Benjamin Rush who had important contributions in their time, who had a lot of, there's a lot of interesting things for us to learn about their life, but we often don't know about them. We just focus and we talk about like Thomas Jefferson or John Adams or George Washington, Ben Franklin, that kind of thing. So today we're going to do a little short assignment, and I want you guys to look more in depth at one of the signers of the Declaration. So I'm going to put up the directions now for the assignment. Okay, so for the assignment, this is just an in-class research project. You do not need to submit anything for this. I'm asking you to do it because I think the research will be interesting and hopefully fun for you, and the writing is very good practice. Writing this kind of thing is something that you might see on the PSSAs, this type of writing, sort of factual writing. So I think this will be good practice for that as well, so I hope you take the time to follow through and do both the research and the writing. Alright, so in doing this project, use one of the following websites to research any signer of the Declaration of Independence, except don't research Jefferson, John Adams, Ben Franklin, or Benjamin Rush. They were all signers, but I talked about Rush, and I think we all know a fair bit about the other 3, and like I said, I want you to sort of dig a little deeper and find out some information about one of these people you've probably never heard of before. It gives you a sense of sort of the everyman quality of what happened during the American Revolution. Alright, for the directions in the assignment, write 2 or 3 paragraphs about the life of the signer that you research. In the paragraphs, you must include their profession and at least one accomplishment before the Revolution, at least one contribution to the Continental Congress and the Revolutionary War effort, and at least one accomplishment following the Revolutionary War. This was you're not going to have to send this to me. Just ignore that last line. You don't have to send me anything through the chat or anything. Just this is something for you to do and to benefit from on your own. Okay, so you can pause. I would say take no more than 20 or 25 minutes to do this assignment. Just do a little research and write up a little synopsis. Maybe you could show it to a parent or something like that, and have them. You could just talk about it a little bit, get a chance to learn something about these different signers. So once you've completed that, you are done with your class time for the day. Again, I wouldn't spend any more than maybe 20-25 minutes on that portion of the assignment. Okay, well, thank you for your kind attention, and I hope you enjoy doing the research and a little bit of writing practice, and that you have a great day, and I will see you next week.